Welcome to the Lights Lounge, your weekly home for all things Las Vegas Lights FC. We're here every single week in 2025, and you can join us for a deeper dive into everything that happens on the pitch, including match previews and analysis alongside a new guest every single episode. Last time out, the Lights picked up a crucial 3 points at home against Lexington SC as the team keeps itself in the playoff hunt. McKinze Gaines made his first start for the club in that match, and he'll be hoping to keep that momentum going in his next away match this Friday at Phoenix Rising FC. So it's alongside me today to chat about all of that is, of course, new signing McKinze Gaines. McKinze, welcome to the lounge.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you on. We've got some history together, having been in Charlotte together for 2 seasons. So I was pretty psyched when you arrived here, and I'm excited to talk about some of that time in Charlotte and all the other stops as well. You have connections here, your little brother having played here for the Lights back in the LAFC days. So talk me through what it was like coming here, having known that Julian played here and how all that went down.
Yeah, I think like the way that it all went about was very sudden. It was kind of unexpected on my side. I wasn't expecting a trade to go down, but obviously whenever I found out it was Vegas, I was excited. Firstly, just because of the city, it's a very lively city. There's stuff to do here, and I've come here in the past and had a lot of fun. And then obviously my brother played here, and we actually came out to a game, which was a lot of fun.
Do you know what game that was? He didn't score in the game, did he?
No, he didn't score in the game, and I can't remember who they were playing against. It was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But no, it was a great experience, and we had a lot of fun after the game. So he had nothing but good things to say about the club, the city, obviously, and then a few fans kind of hit me on Instagram, which is like, oh, crazy, you're his brother.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is probably a demerit for me as the club's communications director, but we signed you and I had zero idea that your little brother played here. I had no idea. It hadn't come up in the research. And then it was in the comment of your post, and someone asked, like, is this the brother of Julian? And you responded and you were like, yeah, that's me. And we were all like on our social and content team, like, can we confirm this? Like, we were like, oh wow, we completely missed that one. That would have been good launch content, but that's pretty funny how like things come full circle like that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Your brother's in Nashville now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is, you've also made a stop in Nashville. So we'll get there. Let's talk about the team right now that you're playing on. First, let's talk about Devin Rinsing. We've done this a lot at this point. You've given your take on Devin's tactics in your first press conference. All of those are available on our YouTube page, so you can kind of check that out. But I'm curious what you think the next step for this team is as the team adapts to Devin's style on the field.
Yeah, I think that coach has done a really good job of kind of laying a foundation for the team, something that we can build upon every single week. And I think that it was something that was kind of, lacking before, but I think that he gives us a really solid baseline that we go into every week with. And obviously, like I just said, we can kind of expand on that if he wants to implement new ideas or, kind of go further into his coaching philosophy. But I think it's been positive, and I think the boys have really taken on what he's been teaching us and implementing it into every single game. We haven't won every single game, but I think that you can see that there's a real positivity that we've gone into every game with. And obviously last game, getting a big 3 points was massive for us. And he's kind of just preached like the train keeps rolling. So we want to bring that momentum with us into Phoenix and keep building upon our performances. But I think that if you ask anybody, kind of the foundation of what he's been laying is just playing with a certain intensity and, not letting teams feel comfortable, especially when we're playing at home. But I think that there's also room to, grow and expand and, score more goals and be more dominant. So that's obviously something that we want to bring with us next week and then going forward after that.
How's that high pressing style fit you individually as a pacey, very direct, straight line winger? No,
I love it. I've played for quite a few teams, and obviously each coach has a different philosophy, but I think that this is definitely one of those things that, more or less suits me, just being, dynamic and, I'd consider myself quick. So, being able to expend energy up front in the form of sprints and, winning the ball high and going to goal quick, I think that is something that's, positive for me, but something the team benefits from as well.
Yeah, I think when you first got here, you picked up a little bit of a knock in training. So that was, I think, frustrating on your end. But how are you feeling fitness-wise, having got that first start under your belt against Lexington?
Yeah, feeling good. Obviously, it was good to get 60 minutes under my belt. It's been, a long time coming. But no, great to get out there and, contribute to a huge 3 points.
Let's talk about that 3 points and that win against Lexington. And 1-0 win, own goal early on. There's a real grinder of a game, but that's almost sometimes the type of game you need to win just to get the momentum rolling. But what did you think of the match kind of from a 30,000-foot view?
Yeah, I don't think anyone would claim that it was the prettiest match that you've ever seen. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we got 3 points, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're at a really crucial point of the season where, every point matters. And I think that if you look at the way that the goal was scored, I mean, obviously very unlucky on their part, but I think football gives and it takes away. And it definitely gave to us this past Saturday. So obviously we take that in the hand and we don't complain about it. But I think that it was also something that, we deserved from a work ethic standpoint. I think that everybody gave their absolute max on the day. I mean, you look at like the saves that Ryko's making in the 90th minute, and that just goes to show, the effort and the intensity that we, put into the match. And I think that, at the end of the day, you can argue, oh, you got lucky, but I don't think that it was luck. I think it was deserved. And it's just one of those things where, football gave it to us on the day and we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you feel about your individual performance? I think playing from the start is very different than entering as a sub like you did in the previous 2 matches, where game state is a little bit weird and there's specific things you're being asked to do, whereas playing from the start I think is a little bit more representative of installing the tactics that Devin's talking about on the field. So how'd you feel about your first individual start?
Yeah, I felt okay. Obviously, I think that there's things that I can do better. Definitely wasn't my best game that I've ever played in my professional career, but Devin also said before the game that he didn't need everybody's best game. He just needed the most intense game that we could bring. So that's something that I wanted to bring. And at the end of the day, we got 3 points. So I think from a personal standpoint, obviously there's more that I want to do. I want to contribute, scoring goals and assisting goals. But at the end of the day, winning and getting 3 points is the most important thing. So that's something that I can be satisfied with.
Yeah. Let's talk about the playoff hunt. Let's look ahead to Phoenix. You've been a part of teams that have snuck into playoffs on the final day. Charlotte FC 2023 comes to mind with a win over Inter Miami on that final day. You get to this point in the season where games become must win and the pressure starts to ratchet up. How do you deal with that mentally? I mean, I know the old refrain is just, okay, take it one game at a time and just try to get everything out of it. But the pressure does start to ratchet up on every single match when you feel like those points are so necessary, or do you feel differently than that?
I think that it's a combination of different things, but I'd say that that's pretty accurate. I mean, obviously everybody in the locker room knows that we need to win games. So that's definitely at the forefront of our mind. But I also think that, we need to go into these games just thinking like, what do we have to lose? We're on the outside looking in right now. And obviously I think that, the goal of playoffs is it's at the forefront of our minds because we think that it's very attainable with what we have. So obviously we approach each game with the mindset of, yeah, we can win this game because, we have the quality and we have the work ethic and the tactics to be able to do that. But I don't think that there needs to be like this huge amount of stress that the team carries into every game, Mm-hmm. I think that, it's been a difficult season at some points for the team, but I think that we've shown obviously that we can, kind of ride the ship and get back into it. But I think that there also needs to be like a certain amount of freedom that we have going into every game, just knowing that, we're not the only ones with pressure. There are other teams with other pressure as well, like Phoenix isn't too far ahead of us in the standings too. And, it's very close, 1 or 2 games, if we win, we go on a run, like we could leapfrog them as well. So I don't think that the pressure solely lies on us, but I think that it's on other teams too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, right, like it can't get worse, at least in terms of like place in the standings. So that's a different type of pressure in terms of you're sitting on the playoff bubble right now. You don't want to be the team that drops out of the playoff, whereas right now it's only up for us. You just keep winning games and you keep reeling people in from the standings above you. Pretty far along in the prep for Phoenix because the game's on Friday, so it's going to get turned around pretty quickly here. What's the prep looking like? Do you have any keys to the match or key matchups that you guys are looking at? Don't need to like give away trade secrets, but like maybe from our perspective, what you're looking at doing successfully on Friday.
I think, like I said earlier, it's just kind of, taking our foundation and continue to build upon it. We've kind of looked at and dissected the last match and things that we can do better, but also things that we did well. And obviously it's just all about, continuing to do what we did well and then, correcting and fixing the things that we didn't do as well as we wanted to. But I think, when a new coach comes in, sometimes it's difficult to be able to implement ideas that he has 100%. I think that the boys have done a great job of doing so, and I think that he's also told us that. But also, like, there are a few times where, maybe I'm late to a press or someone else is late to a press and we get broken, for example. So today was all about, continuing to gel onto the same page, especially when it comes to the press, just because like it's so crucial that everybody's on the same page. So that's something that we worked on today. But I think that the focus has more so been on us than it's been on them, and I think rightfully so, because I think that if we continue to do things right, that Devin's preaching, that we'll put ourselves in a very good position for the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned some of those things that maybe we didn't do as well against Lexington. What would be some of those things that you feel like? Is it the press? Is it that the fluidity and the being on the same page of that press?
Yeah, I think like pressing is part of it, but I think that it's also something that we did well. Pressing something that's never going to be perfect, but obviously you can get it to a point that's better than it was the week before. So it's just building. I don't want to say that we did it poorly, because we definitely didn't we didn't do it poorly. We didn't concede any goals,
Right.
But there were times that we were broken. So I think that it's not just the press, but also like going forward, I think that we can just the more that we play with each other, the more that we understand each other's tendencies, the things we want to do. We also get on the same page there. So, both sides of the ball from a pressing, perspective, but also going forward as well.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those attacking players that you're playing with as you develop some chemistry, right? Stefan Stojanovic, Johnny Rodriguez started up top, Coleman Gannon, Tommy McNamara gets himself. What do you like about some of those players, and how's that chemistry developing for you? Because that tends to take time, just knowing that Johnny's going to go on the front post more often than not instead of whip the cross in on the front post. Little things like that will come, but what do you see from those players around you?
Yeah, no, it's been good. I feel like everybody's been hungry, which is all that you can ask for, as a winger, obviously playing with strikers. But I feel like also everybody is, they've been teachable, and they've been, really receptive of the ideas that Devin's brought to the group. So I think like from that standpoint, that's all you can ask for. And like you said, the more that we play with each other, the more that we'll understand each other's tendencies and what we want to do. And hopefully that, results in more success on the field. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good luck against Phoenix. Let's rewind now and talk through your journey. So let's take it back to Texas, another a little bit in the South here. Born and raised in Austin, Texas. There's not a ton out there in my research about you as a kid, other than that you were born in Austin, you were raised there, and you played for Lone Star Soccer Club. And then most of the coverage of you picks up when you go to Germany at 18 years old. We'll get there in a second. So talk to me about what it was like growing up in Austin.
Yeah, it was great. I definitely claim Austin, but kind of grew up in the suburbs, Round Rock, Texas.
Okay.
Maybe no more than 12 to 15 minutes from Q2. But growing up there was great. I love Austin, still have a very soft spot for it in my heart. Love going back there. I love the uniqueness of the city. I think that it's also shown like it's a soccer city now, which is really, really cool. But no, Austin was amazing.
Yeah, because historically you're growing up in Austin is like Texas, like University of Texas is kind of the main thing. Yeah, like UT football, like Matthew McConaughey at UT football games and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
Is that like the sports culture that you remember growing up in, or like was your family big UT fans, or they still are, or no, not really?
Sorta. So my mom went to UT actually, but my dad's a Sooner.
Oh,
he grew up in Oklahoma City. So yeah, he's a Sooner. Thank God I didn't follow him with that. But no, I'm a Longhorn. That's definitely it. It was a big college football city. Still definitely is. My wife actually also graduated from the University of Texas. So while we were dating early on, we'd spend time in her dorm and obviously doing stuff around the campus and stuff like that. And also like all of my like best friends from high school ended up going to the University of Texas. Like I can literally think of like 4 off the top of my head, like in my immediate friend group that like I still talk to this day, like a decade on. So also like every time I'd come back home from Germany over like Christmas break or summer break, like we'd be doing stuff around campus too. So I've been to, tons of games and went to Red River Rivalry up in Dallas with the boys.
Cool.
Also that was right when I started dating my wife, so it was a really cool time. So like whenever I think about University of Texas, it's filled with memories, like sort of from like the 2021-2022 time when I first started dating my wife, and all my friends were like upperclassmen in college. So really, really good time in my life as well.
That's awesome. Bad vibes in the group message this weekend, I'm sure, after Arch Manning and the boys didn't get it done against Ohio State.
It happens. Obviously, Arch is new, stepping into the role, and it's something that comes with time. But I think that's the beauty in the new college football format. Is that one win or one loss doesn't mean everything is gone.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I still have faith in the boys.
Ohio State last year ran through the entire bracket without a bye. So
100%.
Yeah, it can be done.
100%.
Yeah. Siblings? We know I talked about your brother Julian. Is that your only sibling?
2 sisters.
Okay. Did you all play soccer? Were you all like playing soccer together growing up, or what was the vibe?
Me and Jules picked up soccer pretty seamlessly. Mm-hmm. Something that we carried on to this day. Obviously, with both of us being pros, and it's something that we wanted the girls to pick up, but it's just something that never happened. We put them in soccer, but just something that they never fell in love with. So obviously, if that's the case, and you can't force them to do anything. But my youngest sister is actually going to school at the University of Texas right now.
Oh, cool. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's plenty of connections then.
Exactly.
You're the oldest then, yeah?
I'm the oldest, yeah.
Okay.
And then the sister, so it's boy, girl, boy, girl.
Okay.
I'm the oldest boy. And then like the, eldest sister, she has twin boys and she's living in Houston with her husband.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. So you're at that point playing for Lone Star Soccer Club. From like 2012, 2016. That's basically like your entire high school career, maybe a little bit of late middle school as well. Why Lone Star? Why that club? Was that the hometown club, or did you get recruited to play at a really good team at Lone Star, or what was the vibe?
Yeah, actually my journey there started pretty early. I started playing there, I think when I was, I want to say 7 or 8.
Oh, wow.
So I actually played with them like in the youth academy all the way from 7, 8, all the way up until I graduated high school. So I spent, quite a few years at the club. I think that there was maybe 1 season in between where I left and I joined a rival club, but I went right back. And I think honestly, stepping out of rec soccer, it was just something where, the biggest club in the city is Lone Star. So it's like if you're serious about soccer and your development, then it's kind of something that you have to do from a geographical standpoint. But also, they've definitely, I can't even tell you about how much support they gave me, as a player and as a person to be able to develop also like, on the field, but off the field as well. And, the exposure that they gave me to be able to, get seen by youth national team scouts and eventually go off to play residency with the under 17 national team. Never would have been possible, without them pushing me and, believing in me every day. So definitely a time that I look back on fondly. We weren't the best team. I'll be the first to tell you that. Weren't super successful in terms of results, but
was this academy? Was this DA development?
Yeah,
academy?
This was DA.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, my age group wasn't the best, honestly, but we were competing against some pretty good teams. Like FC Dallas had like Weston McKinney, Reggie Cannon, Devin Vega.
That's like one of the all-time Dallas Academy teams.
Yeah, Paxton. Right
those 98s are like.
Yeah,
was a stacked class.
It was definitely tough playing them, but obviously we did our best, and we had some guys going to play in college. Division I, Division II, and then obviously I made it to be a professional. My brother also played for Lone Star for a long time. Kakuta Mana played for Lone Star. Kyrie Shelton. So I think if you look at it, it's definitely a club with some track record of producing, pretty good players who have gone on to play professionally and, collegiately. So, I mean, great club.
You mentioned U17 residency. Is that IMG at that time?
Correct.
Or, yeah. So how did that come about? And how long was that? Like, what was that? You would have been a junior in high school?
I left my sophomore year of high school and ended up graduating. So,
so you spent your entire last 2.5 years of high school.
Exactly. But it was something where, I first started playing with the national team. I think I made my first camp when I was an under 13. And it was, kind of a long process of, being called in with the 13s. And I actually had a pretty long injury layoff going into the 15. So I didn't make a ton of appearances with the 15s. But then obviously residency came around and I had been in the system before. So coming off my injury, which lasted about a year, I had an avulsion fracture in my hip. There was an academy showcase in Florida. And just like I said, being in the system and with the exposure that I'd gained playing DA, there was an academy showcase game where I played, I scored a goal, I think I won a penalty, ended up getting called into residency. So I left halfway through my sophomore year ended up graduating a semester early. So graduated in December 2015. But no, that was great. I look back at that and I think that that was definitely one of the most pivotal times in my soccer career. I think, obviously playing development academy with Lone Star, definitely progressed me. But I think the residency was that next step with, just being isolated and training with, 30 of the best players in the nation definitely did leaps and bounds for my development as a player. And obviously, some of the experiences that we had playing all around the world, like countless countries. I was stamping my passport pretty much every month. So it was a really cool experience and look back on it, really fondly.
And you're just living in the IMG dorms. Like, what was the vibe? Because obviously you have the IMG teams. Like, we just had Coleman on the pod last week and he played at IMG for a brief time. Okay. So were you like staying in the same dorms as IMG students? Did you have a separate like living quarters? How did it work like logistically?
So when I think back on it, so IMG's dorms and our dorms were separated by like a 2-minute tram ride. Okay. So you could technically walk there. It'd probably take like 10 minutes by foot, but we were kind of isolated in our own thing. Okay. So it very much was like waking up and seeing and talking to like the same guys every single day, which was okay because we all got along and great friendships that I still have to this day. But it was a bit isolating, but I think that it's also good when you consider why you're there. You're not really there from a social aspect. You're there to get better. And I think that if you look back and look at some of the people who were there.
Who was there? Who was on that? Who's on that team that jumped off the page?
Lots of guys. I mean, Christian Pulisic was there for a little bit, but he left to go to Dortmund. Haji Wright was there. Alejandro Zendejas was there. Reggie Cannon came in and out. Yeah.
Who did you end up like close with from your time there?
Who
were your boys?
A guy named Eric Lopez, who ended up signing a homegrown for LA Galaxy. Yeah. Guy named Andrew Ariano, who also signed for Galaxy. Joe Gallardo, who plays for Omaha Union right now. Devin Vega was a roommate. Lots of guys.
Nice.
Yeah, really good time.
Yeah, and then like you're playing in like who are you playing with this U17 residency? Like, were you playing like DAs, other youth national teams? Like, what was the schedule?
So the setup was essentially once a month we'd have a tournament in like a different country, but like the other maybe 3 weeks out of the month we would just set up friendlies against other teams, or maybe we'd play an inter squad. So it was kind of like a 3-week build up to go on a trip pretty much. We'd find other teams in the area. We played against like Montverde Academy. We played against some of the DA teams there. Yeah. But then it was just like, okay, kind of show yourself, prove yourself, and then, hopefully make a roster and travel abroad and play in a big tournament. So that's kind of how the layout was.
So if you were saying there's like 30 guys there, but not all 30 guys are potentially going on those abroad trips?
Correct.
Okay.
It was a roster of, I think, 20.
Okay.
So if you didn't make it, you just go back and play with your academy team for the weekend.
Okay. Did you ever get left at home?
Dude, so get this. I made over like 2.5 years, I made every single trip except for the World Cup.
No way.
Yeah.
How have you possibly gotten left off the World Cup squad after all that?
Yeah, it was brutal. I think looking back on it, definitely one of the harder times in my life, but I think that it's so great because now I'm like so thankful for it because, like I said, it was brutal. I dedicated the vast majority of like my high school, experiences to being there. Made every single trip and then got left off the World Cup. But it taught me very early that, my identity is not rooted in soccer. I'm more than just a soccer player. And I had to find that out like very early on because that was taken from me. But it's definitely something that I've taken with me, into my career. And it's something that, looking back on it, I'm really happy because, at the time that was everything. But I think that now it's just like if that would have been my biggest accomplishment in the game of soccer, like I would have failed, but I've gone on to play in different countries, play for, multiple teams in the MLS. Was the first Austin-born player to score a goal for Austin FC. So I've gone on to, experience and do a lot more things than just playing an under-17 World Cup. So at the time it was brutal, but looking back on it, something that I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think we've had a similar conversation with a lot of guys. I mean, Coleman specifically called it out last week when he was talking about takeaways, and he was saying that his whole kind of outlook on being a professional footballer changed once he realized that it wasn't going to be the end of the world if one specific thing didn't happen? Like if you learn to have a good balanced life outside of what happens in the field, because there's just so many factors you can't control. Like you can't control what the U17 World Cup coach thinks of you as a player. Like you can control it, you can play well, you can train hard, you can do all the right things, but at the end of the day, like that's not something that's under your control. And if you let stuff like that affect your happiness outside of your workplace, then it like can really drag on you.
Yeah, so, well done. Definitely easier said than done, but
absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's definitely very well said.
Yeah. Okay, so you wrap up your time there at residency, and you moved to Germany to join Wolfsburg, which is a very big club in Germany, just a few months after turning 18, which for those that don't know, if you don't have a European passport, you can't go to Europe before you turn 18 because of legal reasons, essentially. So you have to wait until you turn 18. So had you like decided you were going to Wolfsburg and you were just waiting on the 18th birthday, or how did Wolfsburg come about in order to go abroad at that time?
Yeah, so obviously Lone Star gave me the stepping stool to go into residency. Residency kind of gave me the stepping stone to be able to play in Europe. So while I was with the under-17 national team, I spoke about some of the tournaments that we do abroad. I actually played in a tournament in Denmark, and I played a really good game against the Faroe Islands and ended up getting scouted by Wolfsburg at the time. So I ended up going on trial twice after that game, between the span of that game and my 18th birthday. So spent a couple weeks in Germany. Obviously I had to, show that I was capable of playing there, but also for me, it was just like, okay, do I really want to live here? And both of those boxes were checked, and it just made sense. So, graduating.
Why did you want to live there? What jumped off for you?
I think just in terms of what my goals were at the time, it just it made sense. I knew that I wanted to be a pro, and I think that at the time Europe was, and still is, kind of like the benchmark. So whenever I had the opportunity, it was something, my heart and my interests were aligned. So yeah, I just decided to go after it. But no, graduating high school, just like any other kid, obviously I had to weigh up, do I want to go to college or do I want to go overseas? So my top 3 college options were Clemson, St. Louis University, and UCLA. I visited all 3 schools, and I ended up choosing UCLA, so I committed verbally. But I think it was always in my head, like, okay, like if I can, sign a contract and go overseas, I'm definitely going to do it. So I chose UCLA, but my heart was definitely overseas, and that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah, okay. So you got there, and it looks like you went straight in with the U19s at the time. And according to Transfer Market, at least you ripped it to shreds because you had 22 appearances with 7 goals and 9 assists. You guys lost in the semifinals to Dortmund over like a 2-legged, like however the playoffs are set up there. So it seems like you like stepped straight into the U19s and just like hit the ground running. That's just me looking at stats on Transfer Market. Is that how it felt for you when you arrived at Wolfsburg? Like, did you get there and go, wow, this is going well?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I kind of knew heading over that Wolfsburg had a really good academy team at the time, which definitely made my decision a little bit easier because obviously it'd be tough to go there. And, if the team wasn't performing well, then that would kind of limit my visibility. But I kind of knew like, okay, I'm going to be in a good situation. But no, I stepped in and the guys embraced me. I was like that American kid. So everyone, you know how it goes.
Didn't speak any German at the time?
Didn't speak a word of German. Yeah. Everybody would try to practice their English that they were learning in high school, which was like, it was hilarious. But no. They made me feel really comfortable. But no, I played really well that season. We were really successful. We ended up winning like our division because the bracket's broken up into, I want to say like 3 or 4 divisions. So our region, we won our region with like, flying colors. I think, I don't know if we lost a game, honestly. Our coach ended up, after that, coaching in the Bundesliga for Bochum, Schalke. So, had a really good coach. A few guys that are still playing today. Bundesliga, second Bundesliga. So, really good team. But no, that was definitely one of the best years of my early career. Coming out of residency, still have some boys that I keep in contact to this day. So,
Confirmed, you guys did not lose a game.
Yeah, there you go.
26 games. 1, 2, 3 draws. So 23 wins and 3 draws.
There you go. Yeah, really good season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now looking at this, though, I have to ask you this. Match day 20, RB Leipzig U19, 1-0 win.
I know what you're going to say.
McKinze Gaines, 90 plus 4-minute red card. Then a 4-game red card suspension.
Yeah.
My guy, what did you do?
Crazy, huh? Yeah, I think that sometimes I play with a little bit of a competitive edge, and that game was tough, obviously, because, you know, we had a standard that we didn't want to, you know, let drop. And like you just said, we never lost any games, and that game was really tight. In the 90th minute, the ref called a penalty for, you know, probably one of the worst calls I've seen in my life. So we were about to draw, and I told the ref that, you know, a few choice words about his decision, and he didn't appreciate that. He didn't look at that kindly. So he said, okay, you can go to the showers.
Was it a few choice words in German or a few choice words in English?
In English, which actually hurt me in the end, because the match translation, he actually reported to the German refereeing association that I said something completely different that I didn't say, that was like a lot more offensive.
Thus the 4-game suspension.
So pretty much I told the ref that his decision was freaking horse crap.
Yeah.
And in the match report, he pretty much put it like I had attacked him, personally.
Like, you are freaking horse crap.
Exactly. Something along those lines, which, you know, obviously it wasn't true, but it's like, you know, my word versus his word.
Sure, yeah.
Obviously they're going to go with his word. So yeah, four match vacation, if you want to call it that. But yeah.
That's amazing. Well, it seems like your coach didn't hold it against you, because you came straight back into the team once you were back off of red card suspension and gotten 2 assists and a goal in those final 3 games. So maybe you just needed a little reset.
Like I said, a little vacation never hurt anymore.
Oh man, that's pretty funny. Okay, so then that whole season with the academy team goes pretty well. I'm curious what the plan was with Wolfsburg when you would come in. Was it always, you're going to go with the U19s year 1, we're going to see how you do, and then go from there? What was the kind of development plan?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, you know, anybody who plays in the academy always has the aspiration of playing for the first team at the time.
Yeah.
During match weeks, I would go up and, you know, train with the first team, especially if there was like an international break. But honestly, it's a really big jump from under 19s to the Bundesliga, and I think that for me at the time it was just too big of a jump. I feel like I was kind of right in the middle. I feel like I was probably a little bit too good for the second team, which is like an under 23 team, and not good enough to play for the first team. So it kind of left me, you know, kind of in limbo, which is why I decided to leave and play for another team. Yeah,
so that was your decision then, at that point, to go to Darmstadt. Am I pronouncing that right? Yeah, so you went to Darmstadt 98. That's immediately after your first season with Wolfsburg. So you saw the writing on the wall pretty quickly and said, we're not going to waste time here. We're gonna get this going. That's a second division club. They play in the 2 Bundesliga in Germany. Why Darmstadt? Why was that the right choice at that time?
At the time, they had a coach named Thorsten Frings, who has played quite a few games for Bayern Munich and for Germany. And I think that as a young player, obviously, if you're playing under a coach who's achieved big things in his career, it's definitely, you know, appetizing as a player. So just kind of speaking with him, and then obviously looking at what the club's about. I think that if you look at them, you know, they've bounced up and down between second Bundesliga and first Bundesliga. So it's a very competitive team. Amazing fans, like absolutely unbelievable. They have so much, you know, passion, but also the club has so much like personality and identity. Die Lidien is what they call them in German, but not like a really, really just like super cool traditional team.
Cool.
So it was really cool, you know, obviously stepping in from a youth environment where we're maybe getting, you know, 200 or 300 fans at the game. Half of them are parents from, you know, the players on the team, to stepping into a team that has been around for, you know, 100 years and, you know, has 20,000 supporters at this stadium. All of them just like die hard. And, you know, when things weren't going good, you could tell like it affected them just as much as it affected us, or just like, you know, this is our life. This club is, you know, what our identity is built around. So it was really cool. I think the club just, you know, ticked a lot of boxes, and
real pressure for the first time.
Yeah,
in
for
your
sure.
Career, probably.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like not pressure. Obviously, there's pressure playing for the U17 residencies and But that's more like the individual pressure of like, I want my career to pan out versus like, oh, wow, there's 20,000 people in the stadium that I could ruin their day today if I don't play well. I don't know. It feels like a lot to deal with. You made your pro debut on August 12th. So pretty much straight away after joining, you played in the DFB Pokal, which is their cup competition. And then you made 2 appearances in the 2 Bundesliga in October, 1 off the bench and then 1 start. And that's the only appearances I have on Transfer Market. Before you went out on loan the next year. So did this move not go to plan for you? Like, was this a disappointment, or did you think this was how it was going to go in your first year with them? Just curious how you thought about that at the time.
I don't know if I look at it as a disappointment, but obviously, like I said, I wasn't good enough at Wolfsburg to play for the first team. I think that I wouldn't say it was like a shock, but there was definitely like, okay, like there's definitely a big jump here between youth football and professional football. And I definitely found that out. I think that I got a lot better at the time as a player, but I will say like it definitely took me, I'd say 2, maybe even like 3 years after I became a pro to actually figure out like what my game would be in the men's game. Just like talking specifics, as a youth national team player and as like a youth player, I'd always get the ball to feet a lot, and I found it really difficult as a man to be able to do that just because like I didn't have any time or space on the ball. So I feel like my impact wasn't where I wanted it to be. But once I, got a little bit smarter and quicker in the head, I could look at spaces that teams were leaving open and kind of run into it myself. And, if somebody wants to play me like a through ball or something like that. Yeah. So once I kind of figured out like, okay, my off the ball movement needs to be quicker, it needs to be sharper. That's when I feel like I finally fully transitioned into being a man. But it was definitely a very steep learning curve. Like it was literally like every week, like that didn't work, back to the drawing board, like dissecting like my entire performance. Here's what I'm going to do differently in training. And one week, like an assistant coach pulled me to the side and he was like, hey, here's what I think you should do. And I did it. And I still remember the game to this day. And it was like one of the best performances I've ever had. And he's just like, you got it. Nice. And I just took that with me.
Amazing. Was that a appearance with the first team or with the second team or a reserve team at that time?
I was so this was my second, third division team, Sonnenhof Großausbach at the time.
Okay, cool. So that was at that point. Because you went to Zwickau?
Zwickau, yeah. Okay. I would say.
That was on loan. So you were Darmstadt in the fall. They sent you on loan for the spring.
Correct.
With Zwickau. You made 11 appearances there. Then you came back to Darmstadt and they sold you to Grabenbach. And then that catches us up to where we are right now.
Yeah. So obviously Darmstadt, I got there. I found out like, okay, I need to be better than I am to play at this level. I went to Zwickau on loan, which like, looking back on it to this day is probably the toughest period of my entire life. Like I don't think that I've ever been faced with any challenges like that before. They have an American coach named Joe Enox at the time. And because of that, I was just like, oh, okay, like things are going to go good. Like I have an American coach.
Yeah.
But I showed up and that just like wasn't the case. To be honest, like I have to look at like my own performances and of course like I could be better, but I felt really isolated. Zwickau is it's a city in the east of Germany, like right on the border of Poland, and it felt like a completely different world to me. So like East Germany and West Germany obviously like were separated during World War II, but even if you look at it today, I feel like East Germany at times can kind of lag behind West Germany in terms of like mentality. And yeah, I got there and it was completely different. I learned German like up to this point so I could speak it, but completely different dialect. Couldn't understand anything that anyone was saying. So I felt very isolated. Felt a lot of pressure, obviously, to get back to where I was at Darmstadt. And maybe that contributed to it a lot. But yeah, I just like when I think about that time, like I was really sad all the time. Felt really alone. Yeah, obviously on the other side of the world from my family. So yeah, definitely a time that I don't really think about all that much because it wasn't that great, to be completely honest.
Let me fast forward out of that because at least you got on the field a bit, and you weren't just suffering on the training pitch. But sometimes, I mean, similar thing, right? We were talking about the like Club World Cup. Sometimes you like need those valleys for the mountains. Like you need that like, oh, okay, wow, that is like not for me. Like, and
that was
figure out
definitely
how
the
to move
lowest of the
forward.
lows, honestly, looking back on it.
So then you come back, your loan ends, and you come back from what sounds like a horrific experience.
Yeah.
And you're talking with your agent, like, what's the next step? Like, what were the conversations like at that point?
I think at that point it was just like, okay, like I got to get back to enjoying the day-to-day life of being a professional footballer and obviously, continuing to develop. So I actually played a game for Zwickau against Sonnenhof Groß Asbach, and the director liked me from Sonnenhof Groß Asbach, and they're one of the smallest professional teams at the time in Germany. Very, very small market. Like their motto was like Dorfklub, which is like village club, and essentially like it wasn't even a city, it was like literally just a village.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, like it I'd be surprised if there are more than 15,000 people living in Groß Asbach.
Wow.
Honestly, like very, very small. But because of that, like they didn't have like a huge budget, so obviously like they took me on, and I think early on, like I was still, like I said, trying to learn like what's going to make me successful as a professional soccer player. And then halfway through the season, more or less, come beginning of March, COVID hits, and we had a really long layoff, and that gave me a time to do a lot of like self-reflection and healing. I think I was kind of experiencing some nagging issues, but once I got back to full fitness and got my mind right, like I just got back from that, and I just remember just hitting the ground and just absolutely killing it. I think we had 11 or 12 games left. Scored some goals, got some assists, and I think for the first time in my professional career up until that point has like really built like a solid foundation of confidence. Like I can do this, and I've shown myself that I can do this like consistently. So that run, like I don't know when we started playing again. I want to say it was like April or May, but
let's see, March 30th was the first game, it looks like.
There you go.
Because it looks like you guys played Bayern 2 on March 7th.
Okay.
And then the world shut down.
Yeah.
And then, May. March, April, May. So May 30th, you weren't in the squad. And then you played on June 3rd against Chemnitzer. And you scored.
Yeah.
Straight away. And then the next game you got an assist.
Yeah.
So you came back in just like on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And then you got two more goals over the course of that season. That's all the goals you scored that year were like right after that break. So.
Yeah. It just like clicked.
Yeah.
And I got onto the field every game after that and just felt like, I was floating. Everything was just really easy. So after that, season ended, we got relegated. Wasn't a great season, from the club, but it is what it is. Decided to move on, go to Hanover 96, signed a contract with their second team, kind of with the idea like, okay, like I'm going to prove myself with the second team and then I'm going to jump up to the first team.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it went, honestly. I want to say that I got like maybe 4 score points like in the first 9 games or something like that.
Yeah, let's pull it up. It is interesting. You did hit the ground running with them pretty straight away. Let's go Hanover 96. Yeah, you jumped in with them in September of 2020. You had a 2-assist game and then a goal against Wolfsburg, actually. You scored against your old team, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that. I think I drew a penalty also that I'm counting as a score point.
There you go.
But
yeah, and it was a 2-1 win as well over Wolfsburg, so that must have felt good.
Yeah, it felt great, actually. I think like in terms of like structure, it was a little bit of a step back because you have to realize like I graduated from the under-19s. I played 3 years as a professional, and then I kind of took a step back to play under 23 football, I think at 21 or 22. So it was a little bit of a step back, but I think honestly it was like the best thing that I ever did in my entire career. Because I went from, kind of being like a small minnow in a team to like now guys are looking up to me. Some of the younger guys, who are, 19, 20 themselves. And I kind of went from, being like a younger pro to kind of being like the guy again. And like I just said, like, I feel like the early stage of my career was all about finding what worked for me. And at the end of that season with Sonnenhof Groß Asbach, I finally found something. I found a solid foundation that worked, and then I took that with me to Hanover, and I feel like guys just really respected me, which built up my confidence again that I feel like I'd lost playing for Darmstadt and playing for Zwickau especially. And that really got me back to the love of the game. I had a really good friend there named Stuart Ritchie, who's also an American, but like lifelong friend, honestly. And I just remember like having so much fun with him and a couple others. So definitely got me back like into loving the day-to-day and going to training excited and all that stuff. And I feel like the coach really relied on me to play big minutes and to contribute for the team, which I feel like I did. And just a really good time. So and
you got into the squad with the first team for like a stretch of games, basically in January and February. Looks like you had a stretch of like 8 games where you're on the bench, and you did make one appearance, your one appearance for Hanover and in the second Bundesliga off the bench during that time. So there was like a little stretch, maybe there was an injury or something in the first team that had you up there. I'm not sure what the context is though.
Crazy how like time passes though, because I'm thinking back, I want to say we played 9 games and then COVID shut down our season again with the second team. So
that's what it looks like, because there's like a weird cluster of 9 games and then not a lot else.
So we played 9 games, and I think COVID shut us down again. And that's when I jumped up with the first team, because the second team wasn't doing anything. But I was one of the better players on the second team. They're just like, okay, you can come train with the first team. And I think that, I also proved to myself, like, okay, I can do it at this level too. And the plan was actually to sign another contract there. So pretty much like the sporting director, I told my agent, like, hey, we have this deal ready for him. It's on my table. We'll get to it next week. And next week came and he got fired along with the coach who wanted to take me, which,
absolutely brutal.
Yeah. Which takes us back to playing in America.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how that happened.
Right. And that takes us to Austin.
Yep.
Right, where you signed for Austin. Austin FC is in the middle of their expansion season at the time, and they sign you a few months into it, essentially, because you get to the end of because the MLS season starts at the same time the USL season starts in February, March, and then the European season ends in May. So you get to the end of the European season and go, well, crap, now I don't have a next step. So then, I mean, I'm sure at that point you were tracking Austin FC's debut in MLS, and like, your team from your hometown have an expansion season, announced branding, all that kind of stuff. Were you tracking that like while you were in Germany, or were you not too worried about that? Just seeing your hometown team.
I was a little bit, but I think honestly, like whenever I got let go, to me it was like, this is too good to be true. Like I won't play for them. Like, it's too good to be true. But yeah, and it wasn't easy. I went on a trial with LAFC, and it just ended up being bad timing, honestly. They had like 3 games in a week, so I think the communication was poor between them and my agent, so I went out like the wrong week. But I pretty much told him, like, look, I'm not gonna like hang around here. And he's like, okay, let's go to Austin. And I stepped into Austin. I still remember the first training session. They were playing like 11s on a small field. I want to say it was like halfway. They were having a little bit of a striker issue, and I stepped in, played the number 9, which I hadn't played since I was a kid, and scored a hat trick in that first training. And it was just like, God opened that door, and it's just like, it was wide open for me. And I knew like from that training, like, okay, like things are looking good, just don't mess it up. So ended up training there for another 2 weeks, and I got offered a contract to sign for Austin, which was a dream come true. Probably, I had a lot of hardships in the beginning of my professional career, but I feel like we're finally getting to a time in my career where like things really started to look up, and I think Austin was just like a beautiful experience for me. Obviously playing for them, scoring the goal. My first goal, or only goal in MLS for the team, was goal of the week in my second appearance. Met my wife. I want to say we went on our first date like 4 days before I scored that goal.
No way.
Yeah, like it was crazy. Like everything, it just happened like bam, bam, bam. So yeah, amazing time. Wow. Amazing time.
Wait, before we talk more about that, why leave Germany at that point? Because I mean, you were pretty committed to the German system at this point. I'm sure, agents and sporting directors and stuff know you around there. Why was it the right time to go back to the States at that point?
That's honestly all I had.
Okay.
If you look at it, Like I said, we played 9 games that season with the second team, and then it got canceled. So obviously I'm up training with the first team, but the only people who can see what I'm doing are internal. It's the coaches for the first team. So I had 9 games of, match tape that season to show everybody else, but that wasn't really, enough for other German teams looking to sign players. And obviously German clubs went through a little bit of, financial difficulty with COVID and all that stuff. So they didn't really have a lot of money to throw at signing new players. So it was honestly something where I just didn't have a ton of options. And at the time, living in Germany during COVID was also tough. I was also super isolated, couldn't really go anywhere, do anything, hang out with friends. So it just made sense to come back.
While you were telling that story, I found the goal. Let's watch it because it's sick. Just sitting around there right at the top of the box, touch, goal of the week. That's sick.
Yeah.
What did it feel like? Knee slide to the corner right here.
I think I just blocked out. I think honestly, after I struck it, like the second that I took my first touch, all I just thought was like, don't shoot it over the goal, keep it down. I didn't really care where I put it. I was just like, just keep it down. So luckily I kept it under the bar. I think the keeper got like maybe a finger to it, but
yeah, he does touch it a bit, I think. We'll watch it one more time here. Get the good replays.
Yeah, no, that moment changed a lot for me. I was also, I came in and kind of similar to this, I literally picked up a groin injury right after I signed for Austin, and I ended up missing the team for quite a few weeks, quite a few games. And after that, I got into the game, and it was kind of my time to show why I deserved to play. And after that, I didn't miss a team for the rest of the season. That kind of set me up to, going on and playing in Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, this was just your second appearance with them at the time. I mean, and your first appearance was 1 minute off the bench against the Earthquakes, so kind of garbage time a little bit there. But you got 18 minutes off the bench here and get your first goal. That's pretty electric stuff. So,
yeah, sick.
I think you started the next game as well. So
I did against Colorado.
Yeah. So you play out the season. Obviously, you recover from that groin injury. You finally find yourself in the States. You're back home. You've met this girl that you're super excited about, I'm sure. Things are going well. And at this point, like, you're making every single matchday squad. So your plans are, okay, second season in Austin. Like, it's an expansion club the first season, so there's always challenges with that. We're going to hit the ground running in year 2. So did you have any inkling at the time that you weren't going to be in Austin FC in 2022?
Not a single one.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, the way expansion works in Major League Soccer is there's an expansion draft. So every team has to put out a list of players that they protect that can't be selected. So you obviously can't protect your whole team. You have to make strategic decisions. So you were left unprotected. But even at that time, like, once they leave you unprotected, are you kind of like, well, I mean, like, Charlotte's not going to take me, or like, were you even thinking about it?
I didn't even know what an expansion draft was, so I wasn't even like too concerned about it. They don't like make it known to the players like in the team who's protected and who's not protected. I think for obvious reasons. So there's no like mass message that goes out like saying like, hey man, you're unprotected, like watch your back. No, honestly, I had no idea, and I wasn't familiar with like the expansion draft process or even when it happened. So I was actually up in New York City with my now wife and some of my best friends. We're just running around the city having fun. My agent called me and he, mentioned, he's like, hey man, I think Charlotte's going to take you in the expansion draft. I was like, hey man, I'm with my friends. I'll call you back later. He's like, okay. Me thinking like the expansion draft's in like another month. I'm just like, okay, like I got time.
Yeah.
Like I picked up my phone. We were actually flying out that day. So I was at the airport, sat at the gate, and I picked up my phone. I was like, wonder when the expansion draft is. So I typed it in. I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's in 2 days. And he called me back like right after that. And he's like, they're going to take you. You have a meeting with the coach tomorrow morning. And I was just like, oh, crap. I don't think I told my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. We'd been dating for like 3 months. So we got back to Austin and he texted me again. He's like, hey, the meeting's at this time. So I was like, okay, I got to tell her. I was like, hey, hon, like this might happen. And she was like obviously beside herself. We had such a good thing going. We'd like clicked right off the bat. It was like really seamless between the two of us. And I think that we both knew like, okay, like if we both, put the energy into pursuing this, something could come of this.
Yeah.
But obviously with her graduating college, she's kind of rooted in Austin, and then this team is, halfway across the nation.
Yeah.
And we ended up figuring that out. But yeah, the move of the time was very, very surprising, just due to how everything is processed and works out. But ended up finding myself in Charlotte.
That's great. So your now wife, she ended up staying in Austin. Was she graduating like that spring essentially?
Yeah, exactly.
So she had like a semester left. So I'm sure she stuck around for a little bit before making her way to Charlotte down the road.
Yeah.
That's insane. Okay, so you get picked up. This is where our paths cross because I'm working in comms for Charlotte FC at the time. So I'm helping with that expansion draft and writing your press release and all of that kind of stuff. So do you move like straight away, or like, because preseason's right around the corner from the expansion draft? It's not that long. It's just basically get to the Christmas holidays and then off there. So what was that like in between period like?
Yeah, it was very immediate. I want to say like off the top of my head, I found out that I was going to Charlotte like December 16th, and then like you said, I think preseason started maybe like a week or a week and a half into January that year. So a very quick turnaround. Obviously you have to wrap your head around what's happening, but obviously like from my side there was a lot of excitement just because like Charlotte wanted me there, so I knew that there was going to be opportunity for me. So definitely wasn't upset or anything about leaving Austin. Obviously I just said like playing in Austin was probably one of the best times in my career, or definitely was the best time in my career up until that point, but I knew like Charlotte would give me a little bit more opportunity, especially since I was playing as a 9 in Austin. And Charlotte saw me as more of a winger, which is how I see myself. So I just think like that, made sense from a sporting perspective as well.
Yeah. So you jump in off to preseason IMG, by the way.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that
I've gone there
time.
A few times since.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
MLS
MLS
clubs,
teams love an IMG preseason.
They do.
Yeah. Was it the first time you've been back at IMG though, since leaving the residency academy? Like
could have
when
been.
We were there?
It could have been. Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Honestly. I didn't realize that at the time.
Definitely a flashback.
Yeah. So that 2020 season went pretty well. You made 27 appearances, 3 goals, 5 assists. Obviously that first season was a bit of a roller coaster for all of us involved. It's a roller coaster on the comm side because we fired our head coach, Miguel Angel Ramirez, 11 games into the season, and then an assistant, Chris Lantanzio, took over, who was then your head coach for your entire rest of your time in Charlotte. You kind of caught fire toward the end of that season is when like I think things really clicked, at least statistics wise.
Yeah, correct.
Because like it's like from match day 24 through 38 is when you pick up 5 assists and a goal over those last like 10 games essentially. So is that how it felt to you? Like, it's really started to come together at the end of that season? Yeah,
for sure. I think that I definitely started to settle into what it meant to play minutes for, an MLS team. Obviously with Austin, I had a very small sample size, but with Charlotte, that was kind of, taken to the next level. So definitely got more comfortable. But I also think like, there are also things that just like weren't going my way at the beginning of the season. Maybe it was like a cross that somebody maybe could have scored. Obviously it doesn't go my way, no shade to them. It's just how it happens.
Yeah.
But obviously I like to tell like my friends and my brother, like, whenever like you score, it comes in bunches. That's kind of what I believe in. I feel like it definitely came from me in bunches there.
Yeah, absolutely. You would have played in that Galaxy game, that home opener that had 75,000 people in it. You came off the bench, I think, and played 9 minutes. You remember? I mean, the Charlotte crowd, especially in that year one, was pretty electric for a lot of those games. And that 75,000 was probably the most people you'd ever played in front of at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, surely, right?
Come on, 75,000. So. I think that's more than like 99% of any soccer players ever played for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was electric crowd. I still remember running out for warm-ups and just like looking around, and people are as high as you can see.
Yeah.
Noise was deafening, couldn't hear a thing, which was crazy. Unfortunately, we couldn't reward them with 3 points on the night, but it was definitely something special, and I think like a good indicator of the excitement and the buzz that was to come for Charlotte FC in the city.
Yeah, you came on in the 9th minute. Like, you've got to be like coming on just being like, man, if I can score an equalizer right now, I'm gonna like talk about blacking out. Like, that would be I think I might pass out. Like, okay, let's keep going. Then you go into 2024, and for the first time in your career, stay with the same team for 2 seasons in a row.
Huge, huh?
What a crazy concept.
Still
it doesn't happen again after this. Spoiler alert.
Still haven't had it since.
But so you go in, you get a real preseason, the team again, and putting in, I think, statistically another like good year. But you had 1 goal, 1 assist, made the playoffs. What did you think of that season?
A little bit tougher for me. I ended up tearing my meniscus twice that season.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it was a little bit tougher for me mentally and everything. Missed quite a bit of time, and found it difficult at times to work my way back into the team after the injuries. But yeah, definitely, a learning curve. I think that there were also times where I played really well.
Yeah.
I know, like, my first game back after the second time I tore it and got surgery, we played against New England and I didn't get a goal or an assist. So obviously I don't have anything to show for it, from a statistical standpoint, but I played really well. And Latancio definitely told me that after the fact. So there were, some good moments in the season for me.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much to show for it on paper. But there were, challenges and there were also successes.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So then any like from your time in Charlotte before we just kind of move on from it, like any memories from that, any people you were close to, or that 2 years in Charlotte, 'cause your wife joined you out there during that time.
Yeah.
I think you got engaged at the end of your time in Charlotte. So
I did. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. No, Charlotte was electric. I spoke about Austin being a great time, but Charlotte was electric too. Honestly, we really wanted to sign a long-term deal at Charlotte, just because we loved playing for the club and we loved the city so much. My wife was really comfortable as well. We had friends outside of soccer, which was really nice. Obviously, some of the guys, Jalen, Lindsay, Chris Hagart, Koa Santos, George Marks, Quinn McNeil, literally just had a fantasy football draft with these guys 2 days ago. So, we still keep in contact with each other. But I think that from a locker room standpoint, this was, up until that point in my career, like the best locker room that I had stepped into. Like, I literally just, like, I still think about, like, I would wake up in the morning so excited to go to breakfast and just talk crap with the guys. Like, we would chat so much crap. But no, we really just loved being around each other so much. Like, sometimes it's a thing where, like, you go home and you just want to switch off and do your own thing, but I feel like we're always, what are you doing? Like, what are we going to get into? So, amazing period. Like I said, we wanted to stay. It didn't end up working out that way, but no, Charlotte was electric. And I think my wife still talks about, like, maybe going back there one day to live full time. Yeah. Just because we enjoyed it so much.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from Charlotte. I think Charlotte's a great city.
Yeah.
I think
amazing.
It's fairly, like, underappreciated and, like, when you talk about cities, but
very homey.
Yeah, it's great, and it's got everything you need, and it's like,
you got mountains one way, you got the beach the other way.
Yeah,
got Charleston a little bit down. New York's not too far away. Miami's not too far away.
Yep, you got most of the major sports. It's a great concert stop. Great city,
top city.
Yeah, Charlotte Tourism Department. Hit us up with a sponsorship for the podcast.
I need some money from that.
So offseason, get traded to Nashville, and you arrive in Nashville. We'll talk about this season just as one, because you go to Nashville, you make 7 appearances with 1 goal, 1 assist. You get traded again mid-season, and you go off to Houston, where you made 12 appearances. So this was, I mean, I'm sure, like, after the high of Charlotte, this must have been a tough transition at the time. Just like double traded almost is kind of tough when you don't control your own destiny like that.
For sure. I think that it's also a point where I started to figure out, like, this is what sports is, huh? Obviously, like, people see what we do on a night-to-night basis, and that can include, winning games and scoring goals and getting assists and great tackles and this and that. And obviously, like, those are the highlights, but there are some lowlights behind the scenes that people aren't really aware of. And I've definitely lived through that. I think, like, the toughest thing for me is you're not always in control of what happens to you, regardless of what you're doing on the field. And yeah, you said, like, 7 games for Nashville, like, goal and an assist. And honestly, I think I was playing some of the best football of my life whenever I was there. But it was just one of those things where, unfortunately, we went through like a little bit of a rough patch in terms of results, and because of that, the formation got switched to a formation that no, I can play for sure, but maybe on paper it didn't suit me as much as like maybe like a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 would. We were playing pretty much like a 5-back with wing backs, which, you know, I can play as a wing back. I can play as like, you know, a second striker, which I did at another point of the season, but just wasn't favored. And obviously being new to the team, there's a certain amount of trust that you have to earn with the coach, which I absolutely understand.
Yeah.
So obviously like when things hit the fan, you want to call them like the most trusted people in the team, and I wasn't that yet. I just hadn't earned it. I hadn't been there for long enough.
Right.
So, you know, I went through a stretch after playing well where I just didn't see the field. And because of that, yeah, they're just like, look, like we're going to trade you. Obviously, like nothing that you did wrong. It's just kind of something where system doesn't fit you right now and we need to bolster other parts of the team.
Yeah.
Good luck in Houston.
And then off to Houston, back to Texas, I guess.
Back to Texas.
Which, how far is Houston from Austin?
It's like 3 hours.
Okay. So, I mean, like at least a little bit closer to some family and closer to your wife's family at the time. And
it's Texas.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I guess Houston also just doesn't really ultimately go to plan.
No.
Just because you arrived there on trade and then that's that kind of at the end of that season.
Yeah. I feel like I like showed up and honestly, I felt like I showed up and there just like wasn't a plan for me, which was like really weird. Like I showed up and I thought like, okay, like you guys traded for me, you guys want me here. And
yeah,
I felt like I had to like fight tooth and nail to get any sort of opportunity. It's kind of what it felt like. I think that it's also tough being traded sometimes. I mean, also being traded here because like you're stepping into a new environment, you're stepping into new tactics. You have to learn how other players play. There's a lot of pressure like to perform and hit the ground running, and I think that I definitely felt some of that early on. So I think looking back on it, like maybe my first week of training wasn't like, you know, at the top level, but you know, I was still good. And I don't think that you can always expect just to jump into a new situation and be like the best version of yourself. I think that it takes time, and there's also like a sense of comfort that, you know, when you feel it off the field, like being settled and having your wife there and this and that, it also helps, which I didn't have. So yeah, just didn't go to plan. Like I said, I felt like I had to fight for opportunities after being traded there. Got left on the bench quite a few times and ended up getting my chance and tearing my hamstring. So it was like when it rains, it pours type of thing.
Man. Oh,
so yeah, a very torrid time coming off, you know, like I said, obviously the lows in Germany and then coming to MLS. I feel like up until that point I had a ton of highs and I was having a lot of fun and playing a lot of good footy and obviously go to Houston and just kind of went a little bit back down.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the year at Houston ends, it becomes clear that you're not going to stay at Houston, and you control your own destiny at that point because you've become a free agent. So in your talks with your agent and people close to you, you go off to New Mexico. Why is kind of coming to this league in general kind of the right choice for you right at that point in your career?
I just think like it was a tough off season for MLS. A lot of players who were out of contract ended up not being able to find anything in the league, which was definitely my first look. But I think that it made sense when I considered like, look, like what are my goals? And I was like, look, I want to play and I want to have fun. And it wasn't like I was one of the highest earners in MLS. I think that I could still find, you know, a salary in USL that's maybe not, you know, 1-to-1 with what I was earning in MLS, but, you know, pretty comparable and definitely not a bad salary to be able to do what you love on a daily basis. So, you know, with early talks with Idamar and Dennis, I had a good feeling initially going into it, and I was like, okay, like I think that this would be a pretty cool place to play. They have an absolutely incredible fan base. I think they get like
incredible stuff over there.
Like 9,000 to 12,000 per game, like no matter when it is. Even if we're playing like friendly games, which we played against
a Mexican team, right?
Juarez, there we go. Yeah, we played against Juarez, friendly game, sold out stadium, just like incredible. You know, whenever we played there, also like great fans. So an incredible place to play football, especially, you know, in the USL.
Yeah, 100%. Was Jalen Lindsay, who you mentioned earlier as you listed people off from your Charlotte days, also signed there. Did he sign? Who signed first?
I signed first, and
Okay.
I did some,
Were
agent
you
work.
were part of the recruiting pitch over
Yeah,
there?
I'm still waiting on my fee, but that's okay. No, like I said, it was a tough off season for a lot of MLS players, and me and Jalen were kind of in the same boat where we just didn't have too many options at the time, and I was just like, hey Jay, like here's a project that they presented me with. I think the team's really good. Would you think about it? He's like, yeah, I would. I was like, okay, bet. Let me talk to the GM, and maybe like a day later he'd sign. So
yeah, dang, tragic. I was taking transfer market pages down and being like, hey, there's a couple guys from Charlotte looking for teams. So we got you in the end. Again, pretty good start for you in New Mexico. Your goal contribution rate was really good, and then you obviously arrive in a blockbuster midseason trade, which again, you don't control your own destiny, and here you are in Las Vegas, but making the transition now and starting to get settled in. How did you find out about the trade?
Yeah, very sudden, probably the most sudden in my career. Just came in from training one day. Dennis called me in his office and was like, let's talk. It's like, okay, let's talk. Where's this heading? And as soon as he started off with, there's no easy way to say this,
You're like, here we go again.
I just knew, It's like, okay.
Yeah. And then off you go again.
Off I go again.
Whirlwind. Did you drive here?
I flew here.
No, you flew here. Yeah. And then your wife has driven stuff in, I'm sure. Man, tough transition, but we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Right, in the team and playing. Looking forward to Phoenix this weekend. For you, as you look ahead to the rest of this season, what are your goals both on and off the field as you just look at these last 9 games that the team has left, or 8 games that the team has left?
Yeah, I just think like from a personal, standpoint, like I said, it can be tough moving just because obviously you have to adopt a new way of playing and get to know a new set of guys, but I think from a personal standpoint, just get back to playing the best football that I know that I'm capable of playing and helping the team achieve its goals. I spoke earlier about, obviously playoffs being the goal, and I think that it's very achievable. And I've, like you said, been a part of teams that have snuck into playoffs last minute, literally last game. And I know that that's going to be the same way that it'll be this year. It's super tight here in the West, and, one win can go a really long way. So, just kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the podcast with Devin. He was just saying, like the train keeps rolling. So we just want to keep that momentum with us heading into Phoenix, and, hopefully take that with us and get a good result and, just keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely. Final question for me. We've been going for a little over an hour now, so about time for us to wrap up. We won't touch Coleman's 2-hour episode today. Won't do that to you. But I always ask this off the end of the episode, and you sort of have already done this with a few of your stops. You've called this out as we went, but having talked through your whole career and talked through every stop and looking at all of that from a big 30,000 foot view, is there any like one experience or one moment in your life that you look back on your career now and go, oh wow, that was really pivotal, like that really changed the course of my life there?
Yeah, the goal for Austin changed everything. I feel like if I wouldn't have scored that game, it may have been a situation where I would have been back fighting for a place in the squad. But with that, I definitely cemented myself at that level because up until that point I didn't have much to show for it. Like you said, like I was essentially coming from a situation in Hanover where I was playing second team football, which is still technically, like youth football. And I was, poised to make the move up to the first team, but obviously that's something that's only seen internally. Other people can't see that externally. So I still had a lot to prove just for myself and to other people that, I can play at the MLS level. So whenever I scored that goal, it was just like, hey, like that was like my arrival moment. I'm here. And after that, I'd gained thousands of followers literally overnight, like multiple thousand, like overnight. And I feel like that thrusted me into a position to, be a full-blown professional footballer.
Yeah. It's crazy how just like one moment.
Yeah, one kick of the ball.
It's crazy. It kind of like weirds you out a little bit. You're like, oh man, like what if you'd sprayed that one over the crossbar? Like
where
would you be right now?
I think about it all the time.
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, you put it in the back of the net, and now you're here. So doing a podcast with me. So crazy how life works. Well, McKinze, thanks for the time. Really appreciate. Always enjoy talking to you. Always enjoy how thoughtful you are and easy you are to talk with. And I've enjoyed kind of talking through your career here. So next opportunity to see McKinze and the team this Friday against Phoenix Rising. It's at 7:30 p.m. It's on Silver State Sports Entertainment Network here locally. You can always also catch it for free on CBS Sports Golazo Network or in Spanish on TUDN. So you've got lots of options to check out the team, have some Friday night footy, and enjoy your Friday night. So McKinze, thank you, and we'll see you guys soon.